The origins and expansion of NATO. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, is an intergovernmental military alliance that was established in 1949 after the Second World War as a collective security program to protect each member nation from an attack from a third party. Though initially it wasn't explicitly said, this alliance was basically a check to the threat that the Soviet Union posed on Western Europe. The 12 founding members of NATO are the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Belgium, Norway, Italy, France, Portugal, Iceland, Luxembourg, Denmark, and the Netherlands. Arguably the most famous provision of NATO is its Article 5, which basically says an attack on one is an attack on all. That basically meant if the Soviet Union were to have invaded a nation with a smaller military like Norway, the clause would trigger, and this would be seen as an act of war against nations with much more powerful militaries like the United States and the UK. NATO was primarily a paper alliance until the outbreak of the Korean War. Though NATO as an alliance did not fight in the war, several member states did. What the Korean War did for NATO, though, is it made the alliance go from more of a paper alliance to one with an integrated military and central command structure whose member nations use standardized military equipment for maximizing compatibility and agreements on stationing foreign, primarily American soldiers within other NATO member nations' territory. First round of expansion. The basic requirements for nations to be accepted into NATO is that they are in the Euro-Atlantic area, they have a functioning democratic system, fair treatment of minority populations, are willing to make the military and financial contribution to the alliance, and that their military is under civilian control, or basically a military whose primary role is to defend their society, not define and dictate it. Every nation in the alliance must also agree to accept the nation in, and if one country does not agree, then the country is not allowed to join. These parameters are the reason why nations like Australia, New Zealand, and Japan are not a part of NATO but remain close partners. The first round of NATO expansion was between 1952 and 1982 when Turkey, Greece, West Germany, and Spain joined. Though only about 3% of Turkey actually lies in Europe, it is still technically in Europe and was able to join the alliance in 1952. Turkey wanted to join NATO as a way of protection from Soviet expansion and incursions into their territory. NATO wanted Turkey in their alliance as Turkey controls the two straits that connect the Mediterranean to the Black Sea, making it one of the most important choke points in Eurasia, giving the alliance immense power and limiting Soviet expansion and naval influence in the Mediterranean. Also, Turkey's location close to Russia made it the perfect spot for NATO and American air bases, as well as American nuclear missiles. Given that the partnership made sense for both parties, Turkey joined NATO in 1952. Greece also joined with Turkey in 1952. Greece, however, had much less strategic value than Turkey, but it was mainly allowed to join to contain the spread of communism, as it was one of the only non communist countries in the eastern half of Europe. Greece would have also played a frontline role alongside Turkey if the Soviets did decide to make an incursion in the Mediterranean. West Germany also wanted to join the alliance for a multitude of reasons. They wanted to alleviate fears of its neighbors about its recent rearmament of its military. They also wanted to continue their cooperation with the West and protect against Soviet expansion as they bordered East Germany, which was essentially a Soviet satellite state. NATO wanted West Germany to join because with them in the alliance, it would grow substantially in terms of size, industrial, and economic power. Ultimately, West Germany joined the alliance in 1955, 10 years after the Second World War and less than a week after the Allied occupation of West Germany ended. When East and West Germany reunified in 1990, the nation of Germany was allowed to remain in NATO. Spain looked to join the alliance after decades of fascist rule under Franco. For Spain, joining NATO would mean they would be further integrated into more Western European institutions. For NATO, Spain's location between the Mediterranean and Atlantic Ocean, as well as its proximity to North Africa, made it an important economic and military asset, and Spain was allowed to join in 1982. Second round of expansion. The second round of NATO expansion happened at the turn of the century from 1999 to 2020. This round of expansion happened in the wake of the collapse of the Soviet Union, with many former Soviet Republic and Warsaw Pact nations, the Soviet equivalent of NATO, joining the alliance. Though there is much debate as to whether or not NATO promised the Soviet leadership in Russia that they would not expand eastward, nothing was formalized and written on paper, and once the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, the process of expanding eastward began. This process came ahead in 1997 when the Czech Republic, Poland, and Hungary applied to join NATO. These nations sought to break free of the Russian sphere of influence and become closer to the West. They also wanted protection against any Russian aggression. NATO and Western Europe wanted to start integrating former Soviet republics into the European community, and the Czech Republic, Poland, and Hungary officially joined NATO in 1999. Following these nations' accession, NATO started to have individualized membership action plans for any other nation that wanted to join. In 2004, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania joined the alliance for the same reasons. What is important about this is when the Baltic nations joined, the NATO border with Russia increased. Albania and Croatia then joined NATO in 2009, followed by Montenegro in 2017 and North Macedonia in 2020 for the same European integration and security concerns. War in Ukraine. One of the reasons that Putin gave for his invasion of Ukraine is that he felt NATO betrayed Russia by continuing to expand eastward and that Ukraine can't be allowed to join the alliance. The Russians were paranoid about this as almost every previous invasion of Russia by Western nations happen through this area as it is flat and hard to defend, making it easy for troops to move swiftly through. Following the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Finland and Sweden applied to join NATO. This is important because prior to this, Sweden and Finland were known for their neutrality. Finland was accepted into the alliance in 2023, which doubled NATO's border with Russia. Sweden, however, has not yet joined, as Hungary and Turkey are blocking their accession. Ukraine, Georgia, and Bosnia have also formally informed NATO that they want to join the alliance, but all three nations are unlikely to be accepted anytime soon. Thank you.